Hello, everybody. Hi, it's Coach Charmaine. Listen, I'm 62 years old. I'm going to get right to the point. A lot of ladies in my age group are dying suddenly. They are dying without warning and without notice. And husbands are waking up finding their wives cold in the bed. Some women are waking up, or some women are not waking up but going into comas. There's so much going on with us in this age group. And I wanted to just talk to you about making sure you are taking full advantage of your health insurance. Last year, I got an attack of pancreatitis. It's some kind of something going on with the pancreas. I asked what it came from, what it stemmed from. Nobody seemed to think it was anything unusual for women in my age group. This can happen, they said. I'd never heard it before. Nobody ever told me about it before. And what it felt like was severe gas. I mean, like very, very bad gas, like right below my breast. And I couldn't eat. I didn't eat a regular meal for 2 weeks. I lost 15 pounds, which I wasn't upset about that. But I did lose 15 pounds. And, they said, I had the test where they look down your throat. I had that done. And I had an MRI done of my stomach. And so they looked at my pancreas. And what they found was nodules on my pancreas. Now, that also is not uncommon if the nodules are in a certain place of the pancreas. Now, you guys are going to have to do your own research to get all the really nitty-gritty details. But this is what they found. But it does have to be watched. This is what I was told by my doctor. So, what am I saying to you? I'm hearing more and more cases of women who are just dying. In the age range between 50 and 65. They are just dying. And maybe you've heard it too. And I want to encourage you to get your mammogram. I want to encourage you to get your colonoscopy if you haven't done that yet. Get your colonoscopy. When I got my first colonoscopy, I think I was 50. Well, what I found out, for black people, 50 is too late. You got to start getting your colonoscopy at 45. And when I got my colonoscopy, they found polyps. Non-cancerous polyps, thank God, but polyps nonetheless, which now means that I have to go have a colonoscopy every 5 years. Some people every 10 years. But because they found polyps every 5 years. So these are things that I would not have known about had I not been up on my test and things like that. At the time that I got my colonoscopy, I remember I came to work that day and I said, "Hey everybody, I got my colonoscopy. What about you?" Blah, blah, blah. And I'm giving a little spiel about it. And one guy, he just looks at me. Well, right after I got my colonoscopy, he went and got his colonoscopy. And what he found out was he had stage 4 colon cancer at 50. I think he may have lived 2 years or so after that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we as women, and especially African American women, we have to be more proactive when it comes to our test. I'm going to tell you something else. I was getting my breast examined because my mother died of breast cancer at 58. So I've been getting a mammogram since I was 30. And I'm 62, like 32 or something like that. And I'm 62. So I was getting my mammogram at Jefferson. I decided, you can go anywhere to get a mammogram. Who cares, right? I go to another unnamed hospital. And so when I had my mammogram last year, I don't have dense tissue, dense breasts. A lot of women do. So I had my mammogram last year and I said, "Oh, you're not going to flatten it out anymore? You're not going to make it really flat?" She said, "Oh no, this is good enough." You know what? I said, no, I'm not coming back here anymore. I'm going to tell you why. There was a young girl, at Jefferson Hospital who does the mammograms. I do not remember her name. She was the one who kind of gave me education on how these mammograms need to be done. Now, I'm going to tell you what she does. And as a matter of fact, I'm going back to her this year when it's time for me to get it done. I found her. She's at the Navy Yard. She still works for Jefferson. I'm going to be right there. Okay? Because what she does is she pulls your flesh from all the way back here. And she keeps pulling and pulling and pulling until she gets all that breast tissue on that plate or table, right? She pulls it from up here. I don't even have a lot going on up here, but she pulls it, boom, 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 pulls it, right? And then she lays that breast on that thing, and honey, you can barely breathe. I mean, well, you can't breathe while she's taking a picture, but honey, it's enough to take your breath away because she's squishing that breast. She's squishing that breast like a pancake to make sure she gets a good view. And I'm gonna tell you something. She don't never gotta do it again. Because once she's done, it is done. They don't never have to say, ooh, we got to take another view because this didn't come out right or blah, blah, blah. Never. I've never had that experience with her. And I know she's done my mammograms at least a half a dozen times. So what am I saying to you? If you need, and I'm going to take you one step further. I had fibroids, right? I had fibroids and I was having, bleeding when I shouldn't have bled. Okay. And so I had to have these endometrial biopsies, okay, that all us women are running from because they're so painful. But I've had this wonderful gynecologist. I'm sure if you're in Philadelphia, especially in the Delaware County area, you know Dr. Tiansen, Eleanor Tiansen. She showed me how to have the endometrial biopsy without any pain, y'all, without any pain. And I got so good at it that when I had went to work in Pittsburgh, that I talked to my gynecologist there, and I needed it because I started bleeding and I needed another biopsy. And she said, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to blah, blah, blah. I said, well, hold it. I said, now, you don't have to use the tenaculum. Now, the tenaculum, look it up, tenaculum. The tenaculum looks like a pair of scissors with two jagged edges of points on, like on the tips of the scissor part. And they use that in the procedure. And that's really the thing that causes pain. I said, you ain't got to use that. I said, because I said, I know what I can do so that the cervix will open and you'll be able to get the sample. Now, just remember this. The cervix is a lot of stuff going in that cervix. That little tube, it's called a papil, something like that. Looks like a straw, very, very small. And guess what? They're only getting a few samples. They can't possibly get all the, test all the flesh. They can look at certain parts of the cervix and test the flesh for cancer or endometrial, whatever disease. But they can't do it all. So, well, she kind of brushed me off. So the day came for the procedure. I said, now I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And I started telling her what I was going to do. And the other young lady came in the room with that little table and a tenaculum. And I looked at her and I said, we ain't going to need that. I don't need any Tylenol. I don't need anything. Because I'm going to tell you what needs to happen so that my cervix will open up and you can reach in with that straw-like instrument and get a sample. Well, she was pissed, but I did it anyway. So what I did was I laid on the table. I held one knee, my right knee, to my chest, and I started coughing. And I said, when I start coughing, you're going to get your sample. She was so mad at me because I knew that, and she, probably couldn't charge me for using that extra tool, that she didn't even tell me when it was over. I knew it was over because it only take a few seconds, because once you start coughing, the cervix opens up, the doctor's able to stick that straw in and take out those samples. I said, you done? Did you get your samples? Oh, yeah, I got them. I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any bleeding, nothing. So don't be afraid of these things. Even if you do have pain, even if there is bleeding, if you have to have a biopsy, have one. So then I met an oncologist for, oh my goodness, I can't remember all these names, all these people. But she was an oncologist who did hysterectomies, okay? So I did my research. I wanted to find out, okay, if you're going to do a hysterectomy, what does that entail? I called Sloan Kettering because I know they're at the top of the food chain. And, they said, well, they got to check, they want to shoot some dyes up you and into your lymph nodes to see if there's any cancer there. I said, okay. So I went back to her once I got all my little research done. And I said, do you do this? Do you do that? Do you do this? Do you do that? She said, oh, yes, I do. She wasn't very friendly, but she was excellent. An excellent surgeon. And so I had it laparoscopically, and I had big tumors, big fibroid tumors, but I still was able to get it done laparoscopically. And that night after the surgery, I was shopping in Giant. Probably shouldn't have been, but I was because I was still numbed up. And then I laid up in the bed for like 2 weeks, and I was fine. And listen. What I'm trying to tell you, ladies, is if you run from the doctor, you're running toward death. Now, I know some of you are holistic and do things a different way, and I can appreciate that. And I certainly don't want to speak unkindly against any holistic health practitioners. But I do want to say this. At least get the test to find out ain't nothing there. But get the test. Get the breast examinations. Get the endometrial biopsies. Get the MRIs if you need it. The echocardiograms if you need it. So I went to speaking of which, I went to my heart doctor. I got a heart doctor. I got a foot doctor, a heart doctor, a dermatologist. You know why? My insurance pays for it. Why not have all these things? Okay? So I go to my heart doctor. Now I had just seen him because I had the procedure where they're looking down your throat in September about the pancreas thing. And so that was in September. So I just went like last week. So he said, well, everything okay? I said, I don't know. I said, we're going to find out. I said, these women around here, they're dropping like flies without warning. That's why I'm here. Is there anything else we need to do? Because I'm concerned. Okay? So he said, well, okay. We're going to schedule you for an echocardiogram. We're going to schedule you for a coronary test to test the amount of plaque in your arteries. Had this done 5 years ago, didn't have no plaque in my arteries. But, okay, this is what, I'm having that done again. And because it's not medically necessary, I got to pay for it. $149. I'm going to pay for it. I get my hair done, my feet done, my nails done. I'm going to pay for a coronary test, okay? Bam. All right. So none of these things are going to stop death because death is inevitable, okay? I'm all right with that. But I don't want to die dumb. I don't want to die because I was afraid. I don't want to die because I needed surgery and I didn't get the surgery. Some of y'all walking around here limping, carrying on, knowing full well you need hip surgery, you need knee surgery, you're overweight like me, and you're not doing nothing about it. So I get my blood work back. Blood work is great except for one thing, pre-diabetic. Now I've been hearing this now for like 2 or 3 years. I said, you know what? Enough of this. What I got to do? I'm not taking the GLP-1s, at least not yet. I'm not there yet, okay? But I said I'm going to figure out some other stuff. So I went on a chat like everybody else. I said, what I got to do? Chat said fiber and protein will slow down the absorption rate of sugar. I like pasta. So, okay, now I can have my pasta with some beans. I can have my pasta with some meat. Just don't have it cold. Don't have it plain. Don't have it where it just goes straight into the blood system and there's nothing slowing it down. So guess what? I started yesterday. So, because I just got my blood work yesterday. Because now you can see it real time. Once you take that test, you can see it real time on your phone. Anybody doing that? Anybody looking at their blood stuff on the phone? Guess what? I went to CVS. I take my blood pressure. I got a blood pressure cup. I got a glucose monitor. What else do we have? Me and my husband share these things. Teladoc. I don't know if you guys are using Teladoc, but Teladoc now is a part of Blue Cross Blue Shield. Teladoc just sent me an electronic scale. Okay? All I'm trying to tell you is this. We're going to die. We're going to die. Yes, we're going to die. And thank God we're going to die. Because who want to be here forever in this crazy world? So we're going to die. But we don't have to die today. We ain't got to die tonight. We ain't got to die tomorrow. Go get the test that you need. Go online. Go to Google. Put your age in there and ask Google, what test do I need? For my heart? For my stomach, for my colon, whatever. Find out what you need and take the test. I don't want to hear another story about a woman who is dead at 60 or 62 or 57. Now listen, are some people just going to die at that age? Yes. Natural causes? Yes. Yes, I'm sure it'll happen. But don't let it be because you were afraid to have the surgery. You were afraid to take the test. And I'm gonna tell you something about surgery. I had my feet done. Now that man he's not practicing no more, but he was at the top of the food chain. Okay, he was not only teaching at graduate, but he was making his own tools. And I had the worst bunions you'd ever want to see. And so I did my research. I called around. I found out who this doctor was. And when I found a doctor that I thought could do the surgery, his name was Dr. Edward Chairman, I just went to the office just to talk. And that's after he did the x-rays. That's after he told me what the procedure was going to be like. That's after whatever, all these things. I would just show up, while I make an appointment, of course. And he said, well, what you here for, Miss Carolina? I was Miss Carolina then. What you hear from Miss Carolina? Well, I got more questions. I have more questions. Now you ain't even got to go in and pay that copay. You can just ask the questions online if you got it, if you have it in your phone or you have the app. Listen, ladies, and I'm talking to ladies. We hold a lot of stuff. We carry a lot of weight. We carry a lot of stress, which is another problem. Okay, stress is a problem. If you got stress, you got to get rid of it. Call me, Coach Charmaine. I can help you with that. Because guess what? My motto is there's only one person going to be stressed out. And it ain't going to be me. I'm not going to be stressed. Okay? If you want peace, I'm for peace. I'm for peace. But if I'm for peace and you're for war, you're going to be stressed out. Period. That's everybody. Everybody. Okay? So anyway, what I want to tell you is get your, please. I just got a call this week. A woman my age, 60 years old, slipped into a coma during sleep, while she was asleep. So please get what you need to get done. Please, I'm begging you. Please, you don't have to die. You can live and declare the works of the Lord. Get your test. Don't be afraid. Call a friend if you need somebody to hold your hand. There's no shame in that. If you don't want to go to the mammogram by yourself, if you don't want to have the endometrial biopsy by yourself, if you don't want to go have surgery by yourself, call a friend. But don't not do anything because it could cost you everything.